routine. It's
Okay.
very important.
Okay.
Great strategy would be to write the homework assignments maybe in the beginning of the day. So when they
Mhm.
come into the classroom, they have their homework planners out, and they know first thing to do is come in and write all the homework down, so that he doesn't ask in the middle of the day or at the end of the day, well, I don't know what the homework is, or
Right.
he can look at it, and if there is quiet time, he can say, oh, I have homework that I can do tonight. Maybe I can work on that now, if
Right.
that's all right with you.
And maybe we can refer to that through
Mhm.
the day, so that when he's tempted to just
Mhm.
wander around, you know, I could refer to the board
Mhm.
or the sticky note
Mhm.
and, you know, to try to let him know what he can be
Mhm.
doing.
So we just want to make sure we're just guiding him,
Right.
and giving him the tools to take control of his own
Mhm.
learning.
Mhm.
And make sure that we're checking those notebooks, maybe teacher signature or a student next to you. Every student can pass their planners to the right or to the left,
Mhm.
and the student next to them can sign their initials to make sure that their partner has written down the homework schedule.
Mhm.
That might go a little bit faster. The students that have ADHD tend to be disruptive during group work.
Mm.
So it's important to make sure that the student has a goal and has a role in the learning process. So whether that's giving them a checklist and saying this student is going to be the note taker, this student is going
Right.
to be the leader, making sure he has that role,
Mhm.
and then perhaps doing like a quick peer review of each student, asking each student, did so-and-so do
Mhm.
this well, did so-and-so do this well, so he does feel like he's part of that group and has that role, and that should help with
Mhm.
the attention
Okay.
help. And we already have arranged your classroom in rows, which helps him look directly ahead rather than in a group setting where he could be looking at other students' desks and what they're doing.
Okay, yeah.
So we arranged that, and that seems to be working.
Mhm.
Okay. And we separated him from the door and the window and all the fun stuff on the corner of the room.
Right.
We pulled him to the side, and does that look like it's been working?
Yes, it does. It does. And your suggestion on maybe not having the room be so bright and
Mhm.
active has helped. So, you know, there are some spots on the wall where his eyes can rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that kind of helps with that overall distractibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some students, it's really important for cognitive development to have that bright atmosphere and to have
Mhm.
all those colors. It really helps stimulate the mind.
Mhm.
But sometimes with students with ADHD, it kind of overstimulates it. So that's a really great idea to, I'm glad it's working, to
Mhm.
minimize that, as long as that isn't affecting the other students' learning.
Right.
So making sure
Right.
that there's a balance, because we want to make
Yeah.
sure that the students who are not diagnosed with ADHD are still able to focus on their learning and still have that cognitive development. Want to make sure we're not taking anything away from the other
Right.
students.
Mhm.
Let's see, one final thing. Maybe just when you're giving instructions,
Mhm.
writing them on the board. So saying step 1, take out your math folder. Step 2, complete the worksheet. Step 3, you may read a book. Give them 3 options or 2 or 3 options at the end, saying you can read a book, you can do homework assignment when that assignment's, if they finish that assignment.
Okay.
So that he has that guide to look up instead of wandering around the room. He
Right.
he knows
Right.
what he needs to do, and he
Yeah.
knows what his options are after he's finished. I think that will really work well.
Okay.
In helping with that ADHD.
And does it help to maybe break up an assignment into its individual steps?
I do think that will work as long as there's not too many. You don't want to
Okay.
overwhelm him. So make sure that there is maybe step 1, part A and part B.
Okay.
And really try to, especially with the ELL, we want to make sure we're not overloading
Mhm.
him on information. So making sure that maybe if the whole class is doing 30 math problems for homework, 30 multiplication
Mhm.
problems, maybe we'll give him 10 or 15.
Okay.
And just make sure that he's getting the concept, because we want to make sure he's getting the concept, not just a bunch of busy work, because then he's going to really lose that attention. We want to measure the quality of his work, not the quantity.
Mhm.
So I think by doing all these strategies, we'll see an increase in his classroom behavior as far as positivity in that.
Mhm.
And I think by getting the parents involved, bringing them in for a parent-teacher conference, and we can sit down and kind of go over what we've discussed and
Mhm.
see if they can do something at home, like if they do reward system, like a chore chart, or something for allowance. Maybe they do have a chart that says to do this task, do this task, do this task, and here's your reward, and we can incorporate that into the classroom.
Okay.
So just trying to keep a balance for them
Mhm.
will really help, because we don't want to see him go on medication if he doesn't have to, and we want to see this, give him the tools early on to be able to manage this and figure out strategies,
Mhm.
and for studying, and we want to make sure that we're giving him and his parents all of the tools to help with the ELL.
Right.
So
Right.
whether we need to give the instructions in a give them a parent packet and a student packet, and give the parent packet the translation,
Mhm.
that might work, but we also want to emphasize to the parents that we want the students to look at the English. We don't want them to look at the translation and do the assignment. So make sure that the parents are verbally giving the instructions as well as they can in English if they have that language ability.
Right.
Otherwise, we don't want to backtrack, and he's made such great progress over the last 3 months. We just want to keep pushing forward.
Right. Right.
And I think we should definitely exchange emails when it's needed. Let
Mhm.
me know what strategies are working well, what strategies
Mhm.
aren't,
Mhm.
and we will just plan to meet for the next 2 months
Mhm.
bi-weekly,
Mhm.
unless things change and we need to meet more frequently or less
Right.
frequently.
Right.
And I do think this week or next week we need to have the parents in as soon as possible
Right. That would be
to
good.
incorporate a conference.
That would be good. You know what I noticed as you were
Mhm.
talking about ADHD is how many similarities there are
Mhm.
in the behaviors between ADHD and ELL students.
Okay.
And this is from WIDA, which is it's called World Class Instructional Design and Assessment. And they have a chart of different behaviors that ELL students may show in the classroom. And every one of them is also what we've talked about with ADHD.
Okay.
So kids can be slow, or in this case, maybe reluctant to start tasks. They can be slow to finish the tasks. They can be forgetful
Okay.
or inattentive,
Mhm.
hyperactive, impulsive,
Mhm.
distractible, disruptive, and disorganized.
Okay.
And Faisal is pretty much all of those things. So he kind of has a double whammy going with these problems. He's got it from ADHD and then the ELL
Mhm.
too. So some of the strategies that are working really well are ones that I got from, it's SDAIE. It's the Specifically Designed Academic Instruction in English. And some of the things I've done that have worked really well are to really simplify the input. So I speak very slowly
Mhm.
and break apart not only words but maybe pause in between
Mhm.
phrases.
Okay.
Because he has to take in the input and then basically translate it into his own language and then respond to it and translate it back before he can respond to the teacher.
Okay.
So he kind of has to go through this whole more complex
Mhm.
process
Okay.
than the other kids. So I also, I try not to use idioms or double
Okay.
meanings, or if I do, I try to explain them.
Okay.
What I do with the lessons is whenever we do reading assignments, I kind of give him a pre-reading assignment.
Okay.
And maybe it's simpler, or it talks about the topics, or it helps him maybe break down the sections in a text reading.
Okay.